Okay, what's the one thing that I see that stops most people learning guitar? The one thing that stops the most people from learning? It's posture. It's how people hold the guitar. Now, no one really wants to talk about posture because it's not that sexy, you know. People want quick tips and tricks that are going to, you know, turbocharge their progress. So I'm going to keep this really, really simple for you, okay? There's nothing that will make a bigger difference to how quickly you can learn the guitar and your chances of successfully learning the guitar than your posture. It's the number one thing, okay? If there's things wrong in your posture, you'll never be able to play guitar how you want, and that's just a stone cold fact, okay? So what I'm going to give you now is some really good pointers of the kind of the key points that you've got to have in place in your posture if you want to be able to learn guitar. Okay, right, let's whiz through them. Right, number one, make sure that your elbow is over the top of the guitar. Now, this is quite easy with an electric guitar, but with some acoustic guitars, especially big sort of dreadnought guitars, sometimes they go right over your body and they're very deep from front to back. And, you know, especially for kids or, you know, girls or, you know, also just depending on how you sat, it can make it hard to get over the guitar, but it's vital that you do, okay? Your elbow, the bony part on the underside of your elbow needs to come just over the top of the guitar. If it's not over, then it restricts your strumming, okay? So look at your own posture, and I hope that your elbow is over the guitar. Number two, when you fret chords, it's very important that you use the tips of your fingers, the absolute tips, okay? Don't use the pads of your fingers. I see tons of people learning the guitar and their fingers are like this. Let me turn this way, it might be a bit easier for you to see. The fingers sort of come in at a really shallow angle. That's not what we want, dude, at all. We want to see this, okay? What I want to see, I'm going to show you this way, is fresh air, all right? I want to see a circle. When you play an E minor chord, I want to see a circle of fresh air. I don't want to see this. Okay, that's just going to make everything much, much harder. Play with your fingertips as close as you can get to the nail without it being painful. You want to get right up on the tips of your fingers, okay? Now your thumb should be, most of the time, your thumb should be about halfway down the back. Now that changes from time to time, but for most chords, that should be your position. We don't want your thumb up here. Okay, because if your thumb's up there, it's stealing reach from your fingertips. That's really important. There's only a certain amount of distance between your thumb and your fingertips, and that's your reach as a guitarist, okay? So if your thumb is up here, then what it's doing is it's taking reach from your fingers. If you find sometimes that your fingers can't quite reach to play a certain chord, often all you need to do is drop your thumb down and move your wrist forwards, okay? Which leads me on to a huge, huge point, okay? If you take only 1 point from this video, it should be this. We play the guitar with our whole arm, okay? Not just with our fingertips. It's vital that your forearm and your wrist is free from obstructions. Lots of people, when they play the guitar, they sit down on the sofa or, you know, on the couch or a chair, and they get all comfy. And what happens is their knees come up and the guitar gets really bugged, you know, sort of wedged in, and often their elbow will come into their midriff, or, God forbid, some people even rest their arm on their thigh when they're playing. That is not what we want, okay? You'll never learn the guitar that way. Your left arm needs to be completely clear. Look at all this fresh air here. That's what we want. And the reason why that needs to be completely clear is that your wrist needs to move all the time. It's not just your fingers. Watch this chord change. G to C to D. One of the most common chord progressions around. Here's a G chord. Now what I want you to watch here is how much changes in this area here. Okay, look at my wrist. G, C, D. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so can you see how G, C, D, G, C, Can you see how much my wrist was moving around there? And I was doing all of that to make it easier for my fingers to actually fret the chords. If your wrist is obstructed in some way, it can't move, you know? So what most people find solves that straight away is if they move the guitar to their other thigh. Most right-handed people play with the guitar on their right thigh. If you try moving the guitar to your left thigh, it'll feel really weird to begin with. But if you keep it there for a few days when you're playing, all of a sudden, you know, great, your left arm is completely clear from your body. That doesn't work for everyone. It can feel too weird for some people. But give it a try, because that can be something that solves that whole problem straight away. Okay, 2 final points. Your finger height, as I said before, is determined by where your thumb is, okay? So when you're playing, make sure that your thumb's nice and low, and if you feel like, oh, I can't quite reach that chord, then move your wrist forwards, okay? Drop your thumb, move your wrist forward. You'll find that you've got the reach all of a sudden. Although it might feel a bit precarious, you'll feel like you lack control. But that's fine, you'll pick that, you know, it will feel more under control the more you do it. And the last point I want to make is that the pitch of your thigh is very, very important. When you're sat playing the guitar, we want your thigh to be like that, okay? Like at a 90-degree angle. If you're sat on a stool in the kitchen at the breakfast nook or something, what will happen is your knees go down because your bum goes up. And what happens then is the guitar's sliding off your knee. And that's not what you want, because you want the instrument to feel secure. If you sit down into a really soft, bouncy sofa, then what happens is your thigh goes up. And this is your backside here. And your thighs are up because you're nice and low on the couch. And then the guitar sinks into your body. And that's not ideal either. So make sure that the way you're sat, that your thigh is about, you know, straight, basically. And that the guitar is nice and secure. If anything, it can come up slightly, but nothing else, okay? So they're the key points of posture. Now, play the guitar and just think about those points and see if you're making any of those mistakes. If you have all of those things in place, you've got a brilliant platform to succeed as a guitarist. If you don't have those things in place, then you've got barriers that are going to make it harder for you to improve. And that's not what we want, dude, okay? We're not about barriers. We're all about making things easier.